Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Love Pod. I'm Dina. We've got Jordan behind the camera. And of course, joining us this fine morning, America's favorite couple. You guys voted in your fan superlative votes. Amy and Johnny, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We are so excited. I didn't think you'd answer our emails. I didn't think you'd see our DMs. So it is so nice to have you here.
Oh no, we were going to make sure to make it happen.
Yes.
Thank you. So we had a ton of fan questions. So I actually put all of my questions on the back burner and we're going to get right into the fan AMA. And these are first coming from Reddit. Do you guys use Reddit at all?
I don't, but I learned about it very recently.
Yes.
Scary place in there.
It is. It is. And these are not too bad.
As soon as the cast list came out, we heard there's going to be a lot of Reddit channels, like subthreads. So we kind of discovered that, we should probably be on the page and at least just seeing what people are saying.
Yeah, it's you guys don't have it too bad, but there's definitely strong opinions, I'll say, on Reddit.
Great way of putting it. Very strong opinions.
Yeah. Okay, so our first question comes from SLM Keller, and they want to know, were there any disagreements or conflicts that arose off camera or didn't make the edit, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only other one I can think of that wasn't even that deep was that he's more of an outside guy. I'm more of a city girl. I love to go out and about, I love to go out to eat, clubs. Like I was about that lifestyle. He was more so about like hiking and like the slower life. And they would be like, do you feel like that's going to be a conflict in your marriage? And I feel like we both had the mentality that we both would even each other out.
Yeah.
I do wanted to I never really hiked like that. And I feel like with him, I felt more outdoorsy. That's why we had the glamping date night. It was a mix of us.
The horseback riding too is another little integration between both of our lives and what we actually like to do.
Exactly. And in DR we actually did another date that wasn't shown, which was a mani-pedi date, which was more up my alley.
Favorite date by far. I became the city kind of person.
I love that pedicures are city.
It was so nice, though.
It was the funniest thing ever. He was thriving. I wish you could have seen that, but
I know.
So I feel like that was the only other thing, but I feel like we both embraced it. So it really wasn't that deep. Just kind of like the birth control thing, to an extent, it was deep because it's like, how do we plan a family? It's a huge deal, but it also wasn't that deep. I feel like we just kind of go through challenges and figure it out.
Yeah,
I feel like it wasn't really that serious.
I think the big thing is that we were just both very open and just open to trying new things. So it's like, hey, I haven't done this before, but let's give it a shot. Let's see if I like it. Let's see if I don't like it. Same for Amy. Let's see if I like going horseback riding, being outside, or if I don't like being horseback riding or outside.
Yeah.
It just worked out good that way.
Yeah, you can bring out the best in each other. And just because one of you is more country and one of you is more city per se, doesn't mean that you're not willing to try new things.
Exactly. It's just about being open-minded, really. So, and I think we both are very much that. So
that's important. It is. And I think that's what, at least from a fan perspective, makes you guys fit together so well, is that you can really roll with the punches and are easygoing.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question comes from Round Ad 3858, and we'll start with you this time, Johnny. What was the defining moment for you when you realized you were in love?
So apart from the slipping out of the I love yous, that I think was probably the most defining part, because beforehand we were talking, and honestly it could go in little stages. So we were in the pods. We started dating. It was 15 minutes for the first date with all the women. Then it was 30 minutes with 8 of them. And it kind of it gradually got longer. She dated less women. And I think around date 4 or date 5, day 5, we decided hey, we just want to see basically it's me and you. We just want to see how far we can actually make this, and if we can get to the point of being in an engaged relationship. So basically I proposed. I asked her to be my girlfriend. She said yes. And then we kept on the same conversations. We got really deep in some aspects and talked about things that were a little more difficult to talk about. And then after that, it just was a very slow burn into me realizing that like, hey, I'm actually in love with you. It wasn't like a very definite, like this was the conversation, but it's more so kind of looking back and just being like, wow, like I really have a lot of like very strong feelings for her. And regardless if we're in the pods or if we go home and just like down the outside world, like I want her to be in my life. And that's kind of when I realized that like I was definitely in love with Amy.
Did you think going on to the show that would be the outcome? Was it just kind of because you seemed like an easygoing person? Did it seem like, I'll just go and see what happens? Or was your mindset you're definitely
not at all for me? I really think that going to the experiment, I was kind of like the alternate. So just did not really,
okay.
I was just like the random person to kind of fill the roster for 15 guys.
Okay.
And I thought that, probably not gonna get seen too much, probably gonna be there, just enjoy myself, maybe have like a little bit of energy in the pods and just like kind of get people like motivated to do things. Hopefully I'll be like the fun one over there. But I really kind of came to the mindset that it's probably not gonna work out for me. I'm probably not gonna get married, but I want to take what I can out of this experience to try to, when I do go back to Charlotte, because I'm probably gonna be single, I'm probably not gonna get married, to the next relationship, what I can do to hopefully make those, dates better. Because a very condensed process, I was having this hard time breaking past a certain like barrier with like other dates where I couldn't really go deep or just something wasn't right. So I figured that Jordan Love is Blind would kind of show me what I was missing out on and what I was doing wrong in like maybe previous relationships.
Okay. I like that mentality. What about you, Amy? When did you realize you were in love with Johnny?
Yeah, I feel like for me, it was kind of a similar thing. I feel like there's so many aspects of his character that just made me fall in love throughout the time in the pods, including just like, I would ask him all of these difficult questions, all these hypotheticals. I would call them the hypotheticals because, one of them being, the situation with my brother, if something happened to my dad, but I also have a big family that lives with my parents as well. A lot of elderly family members. So that's something that I would also kind of ask him about. Like if something did happen to my dad, I have a lot of family that I already kind of take care for when he can't. So how would that look like? Because it's a lot of scary scenarios that in regular day-to-day relationships, you don't really think about that until it happens. And if we were partaking in an escalated process as is already, I wanted to make sure that I truly felt supported and that was being fully transparent as well, because it's something that might not even happen. But if it did, how would you act? And I feel like in those hypotheticals that I would keep pushing at him, he would answer very well. I feel like he was very open-minded, and in a sense, like he kind of answered with like his heart, like his like love. I feel like I would say, even though I feel like at the moment we didn't know it yet, I feel like in the process, like he was saying, we obviously come into the process to get married, but this denial aspect as well. Once you're in the process itself, you're just like, this is really scary. You know what I mean? Like you're actually developing feelings for somebody else and you don't want to hurt them. You don't want to hurt yourself. And so it gets really scary in that sense. And so I feel like we were in this kind of denial, but we truly were radiating like strong feelings for one another, like knowing it, I feel like at the time. So that's why we don't really have like a defining moment. I feel like it was just kind of a gradual climb that we had when it came to our relationship. And I felt like it just kept getting better and deeper as time went on.
That's awesome. Did you guys, was it the same for you where you went in with a certain mentality, like I'll be lucky if it happens, but if not, I'm okay with it? Or what were you thinking going into it?
I'm gonna be honest. I kind of was like 50-50 on the sense that I felt like, what are the odds? It's not going to happen to me. But at the same time, I felt like it could happen to me. And the reason is because I almost didn't partake in the experiment just like Johnny. So he was a backup and I was in the process for a minute. But I mean, it was 6 months within the process to be a part of the show. And then we had already, like, my family and I had planned out some trips.
That's right.
March, yeah. And then in April, I had a trip with my best friend to Japan. So that was all when filming was happening. And I was just like, there's no way. So I kind of like had been fine with not doing it because there was so much fear that I had. So I was like, that's totally fine. Like, I'm just not going to do it. It's not like they're going to call me anyways. They call me, the trip goes like to shambles, like that. So like there were so many like complex things that were truly in the way for me that just cleared up and like let me on this path. And so for that, I was like, I feel like there's a reason. Like I literally felt like I was going crazy. I felt like my gut was telling me like, you have to do this for a reason. And then he's my reason.
He is your reason. I love that. And I remember you talking about that and seeing it on your Instagram.
Yeah.
I think, whatever everybody's beliefs, I think signs definitely point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that's very, very cool that all that worked out. We do have a fan question. We have Pod Squad member Todd from Bunny Hubs and Mental Health joining us. It's an awesome podcast and he always supports us. And he wants to know if you guys have had a fight yet.
I mean,
so all right. So what we will say is we don't define it as fights. We definitely have disagreements. We have conversations. We have, we try to do a very good job of communicating like how we're feeling. And I know that like earlier this week, I was just like not having like a little like panic attack, but more of like an anxiety like episode, I guess is like putting it. And I was like, listen, like, I'm not okay right now. Like, I'm freaking out. It's this, it's that, it's everything else. And Amy was like, well, is it me? Is this like, what can I do? I'm like, no. Like, I'm just trying to like vocalize, like, I am feeling like not okay right now. Like, I just need to get this out. And then just like, we can be done with this and kind of basically move past it. And Amy was like, okay, well, what can I do to help out? Like, is there anything I could do? Like, do I need to clean the house? Do I need to get out of the house? Do I need to like walk Gotti? So you give you space and just like completely resolve itself there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's more so like fights. I think it's just like things will come up and we just to be like, okay, well, you are not at like your very best, like 100%, like 80 or 50 or 20 or whatever. And like, how can the other person just be there for them?
Yeah.
And I think that's like the biggest thing.
And I feel like when people talk about fights, I feel like people see them in different aspects. When I think about fights, I think of like yelling at each other, disrespecting one another, being mean to one another. And I feel like that is just very unlike us. Yeah. Obviously, we're human and we're a couple and like we are going to have disagreements here and there. That's normal. But I feel like the way that we handle it is by really talking about it and seeing how we can resolve it, or if we just need to listen to one another, you know what I mean? And so I feel like that's, exactly how Johnny is too. He's always like, how can I help? I'd be happy to help. Like he's always like there ready to like, be there for me and resolve the problem or just listen to me if needed. And so I feel like, in a situation when there's also a lot of stressors, the whole world is watching us. I mean, it can get very stressful. And so sometimes we're just kind of stressed with what's going on in here, not really what's going on within us. Yeah. And, that's where we just kind of have to step up and be there for one another. But that's why we don't really say that we've had fights yet. Cause we've had disagreements, but not like, go overboard.
And I feel like just kind of thinking about it too, like the whole like scream matches, because like my parents fought, like my sisters fought, I fought with them, like especially growing up in like other relationships too, like we had those like kind of screaming matches.
Same.
But I feel like it comes from a place of just like me focus where it's like, okay, what does Johnny want? If Johnny doesn't get this, then is he going to be upset? Is he going to yell about this? Like, how is he going to try to get like he wants? Yeah. It's not focused towards like, okay, Amy or like us as a couple, like. And I think putting ourselves like in that mindset of what's going to be best for the both of us or what's going to be best for Amy and kind of putting her first, it kind of avoids like the whole conversation of having those like screaming match fights.
Yeah. And I'll also add to that I feel like something that we talked about early on in the pods, that I feel like little things say so much about a person. And I felt like I had done a lot of work with myself. And I felt like I had grown a lot as a woman, and I wanted to see how much Johnny had grown as a man. Like if he prioritized actually putting in the work for self-growth, because I feel like it's very common for women, but not as much for men, unfortunately. And so that was just one of those things I asked him in the pods, like, how do you feel like you've grown? What have what work have you put into yourself? And we talked about a lot about self-help books, and like, you know, we hadn't gone to therapy before that because, honey, it's expensive, but
Yes.
so like would try to find other avenues of reflection, journaling, stuff like that, to really heal certain parts of us and really grow and to be the person that we want to be. And obviously, like, it's a long journey, but I feel like at that point we had both put in the work, and I feel like because of that, we both want to show up and be our best because we really care.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a unique thing about you guys is that you can want to be in a relationship, you can want to get married, but not everybody is ready for that. Not everybody has had time to figure out themselves and really prioritize themselves to know what they want. And you guys both had that opportunity and were ready at that point. And just regardless of like your connection, you were both individually ready to find somebody and put that work in. And that's really hard to do. And not everybody goes in it for the right reasons, or they think they do. And they're, you know, still figuring out themselves. And you guys handle it so well, like throughout the process, throughout the pods, getting married, and even in the aftermath of how you handle fans and criticism you might get online. So is that something you can prepare yourself for too? Or how do you handle all that?
Yeah.
I feel like it's more so just like deciding that, like, okay, see where I'm at right now. Do I like who I am, like, as a person, or do I want to like change something? Or maybe do I like the situation that I'm in, or do I want to change something? And then from there, it's just trying to figure out what you ideally want life to look like. What, you know, if you want like a relationship, like what do you want in a partner? And then also asking yourself, okay, well, what am I giving in return for that? Is it just, I expect, you know, X, Y, Z, like these specific traits, and I have nothing to really bring to the table? Or am I bringing those things to the table so someone else can basically mirror those? I think that's really the biggest thing, is just like making that internal like ask of yourself that, is this what I'm bringing to the table? And can I expect the same thing? Like, would I date myself? Like, that's kind of like the best way of putting it.
And like being in the platform, I guess, that we're in now, like there's a lot of learning that comes from it. Because I mean, when there's anything that's new in life, I feel like you're going to learn so much. And there's a lot of pressure in terms of like how you mentioned, like acting with other people, and like how, you know, I feel like we have to be super cautious with everything that we do, because it's like, if I say something, I'm like, oh my God,
Right.
in a different way. I didn't mean it like that. You know what I mean? Like I overthink everything. And so it's just like, you know, trying to find like a good balance and learning and then applying that the next time, because it really has just all been a learning experience for sure.
And you guys, I've obviously seen your Instagrams. We're going to talk about that in a second, but you've had some new experiences that maybe came from the show or that might not have happened otherwise. So I'll start with you, Amy. What was your favorite thing that has happened since the show that maybe would not have?
I mean, my favorite one was,
besides meeting Johnny.
well, yes, I feel like in terms of like what we've done together since the show, right? I would say going to France, because I feel like, I mean, that's like always my go-to answer, but it's just, I literally was going to do that right when the show was happening. And that was what like kind of changed the course of everything. And I feel like in retrospect, like looking back, it's just one of those things that you understand why certain things happen within like the universe. And it's just like, I was meant to go to the city of love with my family and my husband, like the people that I love the most. And it's just crazy how life works. So I feel like that was my favorite. And not only that, like the last day, that was the day that we kind of did our own date day and just got lost in Paris and like enjoyed it and fully took it in. And it was just very spontaneous, and it was truly like one of the best days. So I would just say that whole trip, because it was magical.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Johnny?
So I do want to say the entire Paris trip, because that probably would have never happened if I didn't meet Amy. I probably wouldn't have been out of the country yet, because that was like the first time I actually ever left the US.
Sure.
Aside from going to DR for the experiment too. But if I had to pick another thing that's going to be a little bit different, was probably, so one week we were supposed to be going to like Jennifer Hudson interview in LA.
Oh yeah.
So we went out there, and it was a great experience going there. But right afterwards, we decided very spontaneously, because that's like really what we do, is just very spontaneous, like, let's do this.
Which I
Okay,
love.
let's go. Let's find a sitter for Gotti. Let's take him with us, and let's just do something that's like, just out of the ordinary. So we found out that it lined up with my little brother's spring break, and he was going to visit my sister down in Austin, Texas. And ironically, that was the same weekend as South by Southwest, which is an international music festival. So we're like, hey, we might be able to, as soon as the interview is done, hop on a plane, go to Austin, and then see my little brother, older sister, and brother-in-law, and stay with them. And it worked out perfectly. And also, we got my little sister to come down too for that. So it's basically the whole McIntyre sibling, fam kids.
Sure.
We were just down in Austin. We had another great little time to actually be together, because we're all so spaced apart. My sister Maria lives down in Austin. Anna lives in Rhode Island. We live in Charlotte. Little brother's in Pennsylvania. So we really never got those
you guys are
experiences. So just having that, just very spontaneous, everyone gets together, everyone's having a great time. It was so nice.
That's so fun.
That's it. It looked fun too. I've been to South by Southwest. I did not have the same experience you guys did, but it really does sound like everything that's happening with you guys is meant to be. It's supposed to work out the way it does. And we love to share compliments when we get them on the pod. So Todd wanted to say, it sounds like you guys are both great at communicating and emotionally intelligent. And he recommended reading The Untethered Soul because it inspired him and reminded him of your journey. So anytime I can share love, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
I have a list of books back here that are just random, either self-help books or psychology books. So we definitely have to do that one too.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. He always gives great recommendations. He bunny hugs and mental health, and then he does mental health hot takes with Nick from season 2. So I love his podcasts, and they're really very insightful if you guys are podcasting kind of people. But enough about podcasts. Let's get back to the fan questions, because there's so many. All right, I'll start with you this time, Amy.
Yeah.
Ill Explanation 5059 wants to know, what was your reason for being on the show?
Yeah, I mean, to see if I found I thought it froze.
No, you're good.
Somebody, my person. I feel like I didn't want to force anything, because obviously we all came to the show for marriage. But I had the worst dating history in the past. And I found out about the show through my friends, and they were like, you're so marriage minded. You haven't had the best of luck with love. I think you should try this. I feel like this is for you. And I hadn't watched the show at the time. And so when I went into the process, I told the interviewer, I was like, no pun intended, I'm going to go into this blindly. And then he was like, you should watch to see what you're getting into. So I did. And I felt like after I watched season 1 and the other ones, I saw so many beautiful couples come from it. And I was like, if they can have it, I feel like I could have something like that too. And so it was one of those things that obviously I went to the show for marriage, but I also was fine if it didn't lead to that. If I just ended up with somebody that, I ended up dating afterwards.
Sure.
And so it was one of those things that I was just kind of open to the process. I didn't want to force anything either. And I feel like Johnny was with the same mentality. I feel like we never wanted to force anything and let everything happen as natural as it could with the process that we were in. And so I felt like because of that, it just all flowed very naturally. And that's why we're here today. And so, yeah.
All right. What about you, Johnny?
So I don't know. So as far as being reason being on the show, they reached out to me via LinkedIn. So I just was like, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? Let's see what they can do during the interview process. If I get on it, great. If not, at least it's a funny story to tell that hey, I was almost on a reality show.
Yeah.
So I just kind of went with that mindset, at least through the interview process. When I found out I was an alternate, it was awesome. But I was also thinking that my sister graduated from PA school on, we'll say March 26th. And March 27th was when we were supposed to fly out to LA. So I didn't know if I had to basically hop on a plane from Charlotte to Rhode Island, where she was going to PA school, or if I was going to have to drive up there, drop my dog off at my parents' house up in Maine. And that's a 20-hour drive. So basically, I called my like I forgot like the manager, like the recruiter who was like working on this,
Mhm.
and I was like, what do I do? Do like I fly up? Do I not? Like, do any information on if I like am gonna have this or not? And she's like, honestly, I would probably drive up if I were you, but we
Oh,
don't
boy.
know for sure yet. So I'm like, all right, here's a 20-hour drive. So load up my podcast or load up based on my phone with like podcasts, like Audible books I like downloaded and drove up there. Hour like 10 out of the 20-hour drive, I get the call saying, hey, you're officially on. We need to do a COVID exam to make sure like you're COVID free before you go. Can you fly out of Charlotte? And I'm like, absolutely not. I am not flying out of Charlotte. If you want me, you got to take me out of probably the closest one's going to be Boston Logan, which was like 2 hours away from where Anna had graduated from PA school. So I was trying to figure that whole thing out as far as like how to go from the graduation
The leaps
to
and bounds we
this,
had
to
to
that,
do.
everything else. So we did the COVID test. It worked out perfectly. There were some hiccups there, but it did get resolved. Then went to her graduation, celebrated, partied with her, went to sleep at like, we'll say 2 o'clock, woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, Ubered from Rhode Island to Boston, got on the plane. It was an exhausting trip, but made it there. And the reason being on the show was as an alternate, I didn't expect to find love. I didn't expect to be followed. It was more so just I was experiencing a lot of like the same exact patterns I had in previous like relationships like
Mhm.
with girls. So I just want to figure out if I was doing something wrong and how to hopefully, like overcome those obstacles and be just like a better like person in my dating life.
Okay. Now, I think I would have quit halfway through that drive. Like there was just so many challenges that you had to hoops to jump through, as if a 20-hour drive isn't stressful enough. Now, did Gotti come with you to film, or did you have to leave him with family?
So it was tough. So basically we drove from Charlotte to Maine in like one day. So that was just like
Okay.
one
Oh,
just
God.
straight trip. It was nice though because I got to pick up my little brother in Pennsylvania. And when I got the news that I was going to be on the show, it kind of like propelled me and like kept me like energized the next 10 hours. Because I was just like thinking about, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so cool. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? Do I have clothes to wear? Like all those types of things. But Gotti was in the car the entire time. I drove up with him. And it just worked out good. And then we did the whole like in the pods in LA. Then we did our trip to the DR. Then after that, we flew back to Charlotte. That's when I flew back up to Boston, went to, got a ride up to my parents' house up in Maine, and then basically kind of like
So
stayed
crazy.
the night and then just drove down. And I was another 20-hour drive just to make it back in time to have my car, to have my dog, to now start a life with Amy in like a different part of Charlotte. And
It was a whirlwind for sure.
it was a lot, but it was really good.
Do you guys know what happened to the person who ended up not being on the show that you were an alternate for? No
Have
clue.
no idea.
Oh, I wonder.
Yeah.
He's
probably
kicking
gonna-
himself.
I'm sure we live in like Charlotte's so small, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that we're bound to find him one
Yeah.
day.
He's gonna
I
sing
wonder if he even knows.
Yeah, no, that's the question.
I feel like he's bound to see some of these interviews, and I feel like I talk about it a lot, saying that I'm the alternate. So he's probably like, "Wow, what if that was me? What if I was?"
Yeah, yeah.
And like,
And we've talked to quite a few cast members, and I have to say, like, if I had to pick somebody who I thought would be the alternate, Johnny, it would not be you. And I know you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you mean.
Okay, our next question, and is also a compliment from Assistant True 6140. My husband and I were so excited to see you get married. We were rooting for you the whole time. Did either of you make any really close friends on the show?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like, I mean, all the women are phenomenal. I would say the closest girls I'm close to is AD and Chelsea, but I also talk to Laura, Jess, Brittany, and the rest of the cast often. So I feel like we truly like get together for like birthdays and stuff like that. I feel like we've been in
Yeah.
our own little world with each other, but the main people I keep in touch with for sure would be those.
Yeah.
What about you, Johnny?
And I feel like for me, again, I'm friends with like a lot of the girls too, because they were just like always around. Amy's always hanging out with them.
Yeah,
As far as the guys goes, absolutely love Ken. He's one of my favorite people I think I met from the
we
show.
love
Ken is like one of the best. ever met in my life.
Oh.
Um,
I don't know what happened there.
I don't know either, but some happen and it's full of love though. And then I'm gonna be hanging out with like Clay and Jimmy like later this week, if not like this weekend. So really excited to just like hang out with them. And then a lot of the other guys who are like, you know, just like were in the pods but didn't get followed. So like Ben and Vince and Trevor and like all those other guys too.
Yeah.
Well, Trevor definitely got followed. Maybe not for the right reasons, but he was on there. We know who he is. I have to say, having watched all 6 seasons and even watching a bunch of other reality shows, your season and your cast does seem to have the tightest bond. You guys all keep in touch. I know Sunny and Vince have been like the point people for getting everybody organized and keeping everybody reminded of birthdays or whatever it might be. And it seems like there's so many, not only, you know, genuine love, so much genuine love for each other, but you guys really enjoy hanging out and spending time together, which is not always the case. So that's really nice to see too, because of course there was a ton of drama, but there also is real love there amongst everybody.
Yeah, no, we have a time. Every single time we are like all together, it's the best time. I feel like we've all been so booked and busy lately, which has been a little bit more stressful. And like we haven't been able to like hang out as much as we would want to. But when we do, like it's a blast.
Exactly.
This question, I'm going to go with priority because it's actually from my mom. Hi, Mom. Is JJMR 311. Have you gone back to your regular jobs and what do you do for a living? So we'll start with you, Amy.
So transparently, I am taking a break from my job. I was very, very stressed. The thing is, I loved my job. I really do. The only thing is that while we were filming, I actually got promoted. I didn't know until I got back, which was a huge honor, and I'm very grateful for it. But at the same time, I had to, you know, figure out if I was going to get married, but also like acclimating to a new role. And it was just so many things going on all at once. So much so that like, obviously the past year has been amazing, but there has been so much going on that, especially with work, that it started affecting my physical health. And so in the beginning of the year, I just had the worst chest pain ever of my life. I was truly terrified of what was going on. And it was just an inflammation of my sternum connected to my ribs as well. And so that's why it kept radiating so much. And it was all due to stress. So Johnny was like, I think it's time to take a break, especially with the show coming out. I'm a very anxious person. I have awful anxiety, and I just didn't know how I was going to juggle both work and then everything coming out and just like dealing with that additional pressure. I was like, I feel like I'm going to combust if like I do that. So I have been taking a break for now, but I feel like I definitely want to go back into that side of the business eventually, for sure, just because I worked so hard for my education. You know, I got my master's and I was doing a job that encompassed everything that I studied and that I loved. But it was one of those sacrifices and risks that I had to take for my well-being. And I'm much better now. I'm much better headspace. And, you know, there have been opportunities that have come from this, which definitely, you know, we're making it worthwhile. But yeah, so that's kind of where I stand right now. But I know that this is not a forever thing. And I do love like what I do. So I'll probably be back in that realm very, very soon.
All right, Johnny, what about you?
So for me, I sell software. So I work for a company down in like Charlotte that really just like promotes just different types of like software products. And that's exactly what I do for a living now. And I still do that job right now. I really like it. It gives me flexibility to be like remote sometimes, like in the office sometimes. And it's just like a good like overall culture. So I am like a big fan of it. I don't think I'm going to be leaving anytime soon, but who knows? Definitely want to see if I can just make sure that I'm, you know, being able to balance everything from, you know, social media's point of view, from hopefully taking trips with Amy, just enjoying our first couple of years of marriage, while also actually like maintaining like a full-time job too.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but
yeah, you guys are busy. You're all over, you're traveling, you're squeezing us in when you have the opportunity. I have to say there's, I think like 4 or 5 cast members I've talked to that are in like some kind of tech sales, software sales. Did you guys notice that? Was that
I
some
noticed
kind
that
of
after like the cast cards were announced, I was like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I wonder what it is about that the casting is like, yes, this is people ready for marriage.
I'm not exactly sure why. If I had to guess, I mean, I maybe because like if you're doing well like in your job, they give you the ability to have like maybe more flexibility. So
Oh
if you're
yeah.
leave for like a week or
Yeah.
two, they don't really ask too many questions or like really care too much. But I think it's different between each company.
And I
Yeah,
feel like after COVID, we've shifted into that realm where it's
Yeah.
just like,
yes.
if we can do remote, if we can do flexible, we're gonna go for that. So
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think I've never seen, unless it's just a very generic, like account executive or manager, common thread of jobs until your bios were released and it's like software, tech sales,
Yeah.
some kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Plus,
so
I
that's
feel like
interesting.
everybody in Charlotte normally either sells software, is a recruiter, or works for a bank. Like those are basically the three
Okay.
in Charlotte.
yeah,
So if you're not one of the three, then you are an outlier. And honestly, good for you for having
I
some
was the
originality.
outlier.
Yeah. Okay, our next question, and I think I already know the answer to this, but it did come up. Was the birth control drama real or a tactic from Netflix? Be honest. And that is from Bad Bunny Girl from Reddit.
Okay, Bad Bunny girl, we love that. No, it wasn't a tactic at all for Netflix ratings. And honestly, I wouldn't even call it drama. It was just a real life scenario that we were kind of both on polar ends based on experiences. I had never been on birth control, and he had never experienced being in a relationship with somebody who wasn't on birth control. And
Sure.
it was just kind of a valid conversation that we had to have, especially when we're already in an expedited process. Like we just didn't want to have kids that soon.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
like took it that deep. I feel like as the audience, it's the time seems different. I feel like when a viewer watches the show, like they know that it's an expedited process, but at the same time, I feel like that's forgotten. And for us, obviously, like we had real feelings for one another. We wanted to get married, but we wanted to be very cautious and careful about, what that would look like, and, not letting something happen to where we did have a kid super soon. And so that was just one of the conversations that, we had off camera, but then, we did have it on camera again. But it wasn't as serious, I feel like
Yeah.
because it was the only thing, and like what was included was just like, not us being super educated on certain things. I feel like, it got taken a little bit too serious. And I feel like with Johnny, a lot of his words were kind of twisted in a sense too, by the audience, because I feel like, which in a sense is kind of valid, because us as women, I feel like we've gone through so many challenges throughout history to, have self-autonomy. And I feel like, it was just a little bit of ignorance that he grew, and he learned and educated himself, and he wanted to learn and educate himself. And I feel like that's celebrated. Whereas, he shouldn't be shamed because it unmotivates others from learning. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's good because it gives other people the opportunity to see that who may not have known. And the internet is always going to be divided. There's always going to be haters and people who are supportive. But I thought it was good to bring up because people don't know. If I knew how medications affected me in hindsight is 2020, I wouldn't have gotten on some of the ones that I've been on. If you can't, there's no situation where you would experience as a man what women go through on birth control, or as a woman that we would know what getting a vasectomy is like.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's good to have those conversations. And I'm glad, even if it wasn't as big of a deal as it was made out to be, that Netflix decided that was going to be kind of like your challenge of the season, because you get to see that perspective. But the comments about it were pretty silly about you, Johnny, and like understanding birth control.
Honestly, at the end of it, it was just like, it's something to laugh at, because we did do we had the conversation at least like 4 or 5 different times, like on camera, and decided to pull that conversation. And it's just like, yes, like each time we had like a conversation about it, like there was like little gradual, maybe like changes or like things that were different, maybe like more information I came prepared with. But they tried to pick like maybe like the second or like the third one where it was like, okay, well, here's what we can do. We can do option 1, we can do option 2, we can do option 3.
Because the thing is, sorry to interrupt, but I feel like we're also juggling so much all at once. Like, literally so much. And I feel like people often forget that, because you see like certain conversations that people continuously have. And it's like, why are they still talking about that? And it's just like, because we're not talking about that 24/7. Like, for the most part, like, we talk about it maybe a little bit off camera, a little bit on camera. And then we're just like, okay, so like, we have to work, or we have to like film something else, or we have to go somewhere and do something. And then we actually have to continue learning about one another. So it's just like, there's so many things happening all at once. And I feel like that's often forgotten. So it was just like one of those things that, when we did talk about it, it was like mostly on camera. And sometimes we hadn't put in the work because, we were just so busy doing other things, like, but obviously it was something that by the wedding day, like we had resolved. So.
And speaking of the wedding day, is it really as big of a question mark getting to the altar as it appears to be on the show? You guys must have that conversation of like, we're going to say yes, we're going to say no, whatever it might be. So was it a surprise for either of you?
I feel like
for us, really.
No.
We didn't really have too many issues. I think by like 2 weeks after we got to like Charlotte, I was like fully on board. Amy was fully on board. Yeah. So it was just like, okay, like let's just see how basically we can become like a better couple together and like really grow into like that. Okay, when we are married, it's going to be like this. Let's try maybe like so those like roles of like, I'll be doing this, you'll be doing this, or vice versa. How basically I can maybe like take care of like the household while she's doing work, because I was still in my leave of absence from work, and like what we're going to be doing around this factor or that factor. And I feel like that was kind of the main thing. Like we already decided that we were going to get married, so why not kind of figure out other things too, just while we have this like time where I'm not working and we're still kind of going through like the whole process and trying to learn as much about each other as possible.
Yeah. I mean, he had already bought me my wedding gift. And I was like, oh yeah, wedding gift thing. I was like, I have to get one too. But he had bought me mine like a couple days before the actual wedding day. It's so funny. I have a video of him. I think it was the day before the wedding, and he was getting ready to the Bruno Mars song. What's it called again? Marry Me. Yeah.
Wonder what could
so happy and giddy and excited. And I feel like it really kind of is dependent on every relationship dynamic. I feel like with us, it was just one of those things that we knew. And so we knew that like any challenge that could come across our path, like we would overcome it. And especially after meeting each other's families, it just kind of solidified it even more. So we knew. I was like, if for some reason there's still always like a little 5% fear that like you could get cold feet the day of, but that never happened with us. So
that's good. And another compliment, you guys are such a great open couple. You're so genuine. And very special guest. My family is joining us in full force today, and she doesn't even watch the show. So thank you, Aunt Diane. I love you.
We also have it on today.
Let's talk about the lake party very quickly. One of the fans from Reddit, Strict Property 6127, wants to know, was it really that dramatic, or was there a little bit of editing work in there?
So I can talk about at least my experience at the lake party.
Yes.
Basically, so we get in there and like I'm like, me and Amy are like the first ones in there. We're like, oh my gosh, like it's so great, it's so beautiful. Let's get a drink, let's get some food, like let's sit down, let's enjoy ourselves. And then in walks, I think it was Chelsea was the first one.
Okay.
I was like, oh, hey, Chelsea, how's it going? Yada, yada, like talk to her. And it's like, cool. Then it's like, oh, I think it was like, was AD the next one?
It was AD or Laura.
Yeah, AD was the next one. I'm like, oh, cool, here's AD too. Wonder where Clay and Jimmy are. Then in walks Laura. I'm like, am I the only guy here? What exactly is going on? And then in walks Jimmy, in walks Clay, in walks Jeremy. And I'm like, okay, cool. At least now it's like not just like me and Amy are the only couples. And like there's actually still couples like around right now, which is a good thing. But then it was just like me and Clay were like, hey, you know what? We're gonna be, just like the non-problematic guys, and we're just gonna get some drinks. We're going to grill some food, and that's really it. We're gonna talk to some like our buddies who came in, because I know like Vince came, Trevor came, a couple of the other girls came. So we just hung out with them. Really didn't do too much.
Yeah.
Grilled, had a great time, got sunburnt. Like it was fantastic.
I feel like we were definitely in our bubble, as I feel like we were
Yes.
since the beginning. I mean, I again have really bad anxiety. So that day I was like, this is too much. Like I remember hugging Johnny and I was like, there's so much drama for me. I just can't do it.
Because we heard like the little rumors about things
Yeah,
that were
we
going
heard, like,
on
things.
with like
Yeah.
Jimmy and also with like Laura and Jeremy. So
Yeah.
we kind of knew what was going to transpire at the lake day. So me and Clay were like, we're just not gonna be part of it.
Yeah,
we're just
no,
gonna
I
have
was
fun.
just like, I want to be away
That's
from it. But yeah, I feel like now, like looking back and looking at the scenes, that was like the big question, because obviously we were there, but I feel like we weren't there, because I feel like
You were in your own lake day.
yeah, no, like
Exactly.
if we could like stay away from the drama, like that's what we were trying to do. So I feel like after the infamous Lake Day episode finally came out, I got a lot of questions answered.
Yes, got closure on certain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like, I mean, it was a little dramatic. I feel like there was a lot going on, for sure, but we were trying everything to stay out of that. So
Now we'll do one more fan question before we get into some of our games. And this one is probably the most difficult question you're ever going to be asked. It is from our friend Shauna Smoke on Instagram. She did our cartoon. I don't know if you've seen, she does you guys as Pokemon characters.
Oh,
and she wants to know, who is your favorite Pokemon?
okay, that's a hard one, because this is a basic one, but I do like Squirtle. I also like Eevee and Charmander.
Okay.
It's tough one
Johnny.
because I don't know that many Pokemon, so it's really challenging. If I have to kind of like pull back to like childhood, like way, way, way long ago, I liked, who was it? I like Geodude. Like the rock. I like the rock guys, like Geodude, and then like the stone snake. I forgot what his name was. He was the really Onyx, I think his name was.
I am not a Pokemon person. I just love Shauna. So
I hope it's that one. Those are my two I kind of lock in my answer with, though. Like Geodude and Onyx. I hope Onyx is the right name for him, though.
I'm sure she'll let us know. And if anybody hasn't seen it, she does the season couples and singles. Everybody, the cast is Pokemon characters, and it is hilarious and it's so cute.
I've loved it.
All right, now we're going to move on to one of my favorite segments, though it is hard to pick one. We are going to do our Instagram deep dive, a little blind date with you guys, because you don't know necessarily what pictures are going to pop up on this screen. They may be from Instagram. It may be a TikTok clip. We don't know. So with no further context, we are going to pull the picture or video clip up on the screen. We'll ask you to say what's going on for those who are just listening and don't have the cameras on. And then tell us the context or your feeling on seeing this throwback photo.
Okay.
All right, Jordan, whenever you're ready, we're going to start with you. Amy, ladies first.
Okay.
Ooh,
so this is one of my favorite pictures. Can I go in depth?
Go. You can do whatever you want. We're on your time. If you want to sit here for 6 hours, I will sit here for 6 hours. Jordan might kill me, but I'll do it.
So this is one of my favorite, actually, this is my number one favorite picture of the many that we took when we were in Paris. I mean, again, I feel like I've talked about this trip so much and the symbolism behind it, but I mean, it means so much because it just shows that we were at the right place at the right time throughout all of last year, and that we were meant to go on this trip together. And so it was our big first trip together with my family. And that was just a huge bonding experience for all of us. And it just further solidified the relationship that Johnny has with my family as well. That was already strong. I mean, my parents absolutely love him, but like after this, like they were like, we need to have him in every trip now. So yeah, no, it was definitely one of my favorite
Mm.
memories in the past year.
I think the big thing I do want to like echo on this is that I feel like you don't really know someone until you take a trip with them.
Yeah.
And
Oh
really
God, yeah.
that, like, okay, like I'm cold, I'm wet, I'm uncomfortable. How are you going to act around certain things?
Yeah.
Or it's okay, we just missed the third Uber in a row. We need to get out of here so we can actually like make it back to our hotel on time so we can make the dinner reservations. How are we going to basically get everyone to the fourth Uber or like something like that?
It's a lot of problem solving.
Yes.
I feel
Yeah.
like you learn how like the other manages that. So
Yeah.
they were very impressed in Johnny's initiative and, you know, taking the lead, which was great because I feel like I've always been that person with my family, like eldest daughter things, but it felt nice to just kind of sit back and, you know, let him do his thing.
Have you guys taken a road trip together yet? Like a longer road trip?
We have
We took
for a
one,
wedding. Yeah.
So
Okay.
right before our wedding was actually my best friend Royce's wedding. So his wedding was on Saturday.
Yeah.
Ours was on
Wednesday.
Oh my God.
And our bachelor parties were on Sunday. So basically we road tripped to Charleston, South Carolina. We did the whole, like basically the pre-wedding parties, the wedding parties. Then like the morning after we woke up at like 6 a.m. and then we drove back to Charlotte. And then we were ready by like 1 o'clock for our bachelor and bachelorette parties. And then Wednesday was our actual wedding. So it was a very, very quick turnaround.
We were booked and busy. Nothing has changed since.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are going. I always see, you know, whether you're going to South by Southwest, you're traveling, you've got events going on, you've got, you know, like your careers, whether that be, I guess, influencing is, you know, a good way to put like your other hustle. Like you're always go, go, go. I don't know how you do it. And then to have to fit family and friend obligations in there too. Do you have clones? Do you not sleep?
We're very good with calendar management.
Oh my God, yes.
My bosses would be very proud of that.
Okay, on to the next photo. We always include this one in the lineup. Oh, wait, sorry. That was my bad. We've got one more. Okay, Amy, you have an event going on. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so we have an event this coming Friday. Lydia reached out to me and she told me that she was actually going to be in Raleigh for, I believe, her niece's birthday party. And so her manager actually lives in Charlotte as well. And so she wanted to do some sort of event because we are the two married Puerto Ricans for the so it's just like, why not? And so I was totally on board and super excited to meet her and have this event. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. And we have one of my friends who actually sells her own organic Puerto Rican seasonings coming to help out and also promote her brand as well. And so it'll be a fun time. I'm super hyped.
I'm excited. Have you and Lydia spent time together yet?
Not yet. I feel like I'm sure it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't met any. Well, actually, that's a lie. In the reunion, we met some of.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, we haven't really, since we all live everywhere. It's a little bit difficult, but yeah, since she's coming here, it's just like it was a no-brainer. So.
All right. What's up next, Jordan? There it is. All right, Amy, what was going in your head? This is your official cast photo shoot. I'd love someone creative to share my passions with. Do you think you found that person? And what was that like?
I did. It's so funny because I'm like, this picture, it kills me. But I obviously found my man that shares creative passions in the sense that he is always down to learn something new and he's very creative in the way that he thinks. I feel like I have always liked guys who are musically talented. Johnny actually picked up the piano. We have the piano right here. He plays it beautifully and I absolutely love it.
How to play it beautifully.
So if y'all see a cover soon, don't be surprised.
But not too soon. Not any time too soon.
Because we have not practiced. But yeah, I feel like we both have just kind of like molded into each other's interests. And
that's awesome. All right. What have we got next, Miss Jordan?
Oh my God.
You just like, I'll just be over here.
We went all the way back.
This is so funny. Yeah, this was my quinceañera, which was my first princess moment. But I'm really striking a pose there. Gotta have the hip and the arm action.
The hip hop.
But yeah, honestly, like my parents and my grandma, they went fully in with my quinceañera. I always liked like the big events and the big parties, but my grandma, she was the one that really was kind of like all about it and making sure that I had that experience, because her daughter, my aunt, she never really wanted one. So my grandma always dreamed of like throwing like a huge quinceañera, and I'm very much kind of that person that wanted it too. So it was just like, we had the time of our lives. My dad's coworkers still talk about it to this day. So I was like, I always knew when I was a kid, I was like, my wedding is going to top this somehow. And I mean, I feel like I manifested.
Yeah, your nationally televised wedding to somebody you met 3 weeks before. Yeah, I think you did a good job.
Oh yeah,
all the twists and turns.
Literally.
Right, now let's go to TikTok. We've got a little compilation video of how you knew Johnny was the one.
This is like an interesting way. It's kind of like YouTube. Can you go on TikTok on the computer? I'm so curious.
Oh yeah, can you play it, Jordan?
I've never like seen it with the
yeah, like, you can. That's how I do it, just because we're pulling video clips and stuff like that. Like it's a lot easier for me.
Yeah,
she said she can't play it, but if you on our screens, but you can, if you are on the computer, you can pull it up and look at stuff.
Okay.
That's super cool. But yeah, this TikTok, essentially, I felt like our story was so unique in the sense that we almost didn't do the experiment to even begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like our relationship is just so magnetic, and it truly does radiate soulmate energy. Obviously, I'm biased, but I feel like we were meant to be. And there were so many reasons and confirmations and signs that I felt like I had seen throughout since the beginning, even since before the show was even a question or like a thought. I felt like there were just a lot of things that were kind of connecting to get us to where we are today. And I feel like obviously that can't really fully be shown in the show. And even in interviews, it's so long that I if I could like make a list and go about it in an interview, it would just be, that would basically be the only question that we get to. So I felt like it was only right to make a whole story time with everything and just list out all the reasons of why I feel like Johnny is my soulmate and the one for me. And it was like the time that I finally had to actually explain everything, because I do have a YouTube channel, but I haven't really like played with that much. I'm more of a TikTok girl. So I figured, why not do a long ass get ready with me and talk about all these reasons and split it up into a million parts, because it's so long, because I'm a certified yapper. So so it was just one of those things that I just felt like, to our story, there's so many things that made so much sense that I feel like a lot of people that have followed our journey would have loved to know. So
all right, I love it. Now, Johnny, it's your turn in the hot seat. So let's start with this little throwback.
Love it.
We have some Canadian tuxedos. You've got some pigtails going. There's a lot going on in this picture. I don't even know how to describe it for people who aren't watching.
That's also just a very quick example of some of the many personalities you'll see in the McIntyre family. So in the back, you have Cam and Maria, very loving, but very serious. You have Willie, who's the jokester, who's obviously on my shoulders, pulling my pigtails because he likes to, poke and prod at things. You have Amy, who's very caring and loving. You have Anna and then my cousin Tiffany at the very bottom, who are honestly just some of the best people ever. Like, just very funny, very friendly. And they're just very, curious to know things like this. And then me just enjoying all of it. Every single year, we try to do things. Well, honestly, not even every year. Every time we get together, we try to take a bunch of pictures, because it doesn't happen too often. And this time we want to do like a little JCPenney photo shoot.
Yeah.
And it worked out really great, because it's more it just kind of like represents like who we are. We're not the type of people who are like, okay, smile, you know,
No, we're
it's
gonna have
more
fun.
so like, let's have fun. Let's make it weird. Let's be quirky because we're all really quirky. And let's
Yeah.
have a great time doing it.
Exactly.
I love it. It's you guys should, if adopt all the fans, because I think we would all love to do JCPenney photo shoot with you guys. It's just so fun.
It was a
I
lot
love
of fun
it, yeah.
though.
All right, Miss Jordan, what have we got? Surprise, surprise. It is your cast photo, and it says, I'm very decisive. If I decide to do something, I'll do it.
You know, my favorite things is deciding. I love to decide. Hey, that's a decision. I'll make that decision. No, I feel like I don't know where this whole quote came from. I feel like it's a very odd quote. It's very repetitive too. But yeah, I decided that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Amy, and I did. So I think that was a decision that I made pretty well.
What was your thoughts during the photo shoot? Have you done anything like that before?
No,
Okay.
never. And basically what we did is I was one of the first people to actually do like the photo shoot and then like the promo. And during the promo, it was basically this huge camera that was like maybe like 5 feet away from me. And I was okay, say something. And I'm like, what do I say? And they're like, oh, well, just say something. I'm like, I start kind of rambling on about something that's completely just like nonsense. And they're like, okay, maybe we'll give you a little prompts.
Yeah, you think?
Questions. And I was like, okay, this is a little better now. I feel like now I'm giving you kind of what you actually want. I have no idea what the question was for, are you decisive, or like, what's something good about you? So I have no idea how that actually came about. I feel like it's something I would have said, so I'll just kind of go with it. But yes, it was the first time I did anything in front of like a large camera, and then also like the first real like photo shoot I ever did behind like a little like backdrop too.
He's the model.
It was cool though. It was really fun.
Did you have time to pack, or how did that work when you were on your road trip and then had to go straight to filming?
So I had to pack, but I didn't like know exactly what to pack. So I packed 10 days worth of clothes. And then when I get there, they're like, oh, by the way, we're also going to do night dates. So hopefully you have clothes for that. And I'm like, no. So I had to like basically request to like go to like a TJ Maxx just to like get more like comfortable clothes and things to wear. And it worked out well, but like I had to try to pack everything I possibly could. They asked me if we could do like a little like photo shoot of what you might want to wear as far as like dates in the pods. And I did come up with like a little like a TikTok reel, like a Instagram reel for that one.
And Amy, packing for that long and that many different occasions, I just had to ask this question. This wasn't a fan question, but like, how do you do it?
I was stressed out about the packing. I feel like that was what kind of got me the most, because I'm so into fashion and, like looking polished and presentable. And it's just like, as a woman, like we all know that feeling, like we have a closet full and it's like nothing works. And so like I was fighting for my life. I went to a store to buy new clothes, but it still wasn't enough because it was 3 weeks that we would have been gone. And so I just kind of, threw what I felt like could be good, but I just didn't know, because I've never kind of I never knew kind of how this stuff worked. Mm-hmm. And like I went back at old seasons to see like how the girls were dressing, and I'm just like, I'm a crop top girly. I have a shit ton of crop tops. I'm a summer girl through and through, and I'm just like, and like I feel like I have a couple like outfits where I'm like wearing jeans and crop tops is like my usual fit, but I was like, God, I have to like dress up nice and be super polished. So I just kind of threw whatever I found and just hope for the best. And
yeah, it's not as bad as like The Bachelor, where they don't even know where they're traveling to, but you guys have to squeeze so much into such a little space. I bring 2 suitcases for a 2-day trip. So yeah, I don't know how you did it.
It was rough for sure.
All right. Next, and you might have heard my dogs barking, so this is a very excellent timing for this picture.
Oh, Gotti.
All right, Gotti, how did you get Gotti? What is the story behind your relationship with him?
So sophomore year of college, I lived with 3 other guys, and I think it was like a month into like living with them, my buddy George got his first dog, and he was basically the house dog. Then my other friend Royce is like, I want a dog too. So he adopted his dog Delilah. My other friend Tyler, who was living with us, was like, well, I want to get a dog too. So he got Callie. And then when all of them were basically about to move out, because I stayed there for summer by myself and everyone else kind of went back home or took classes or went somewhere else, I was like, I've lived for the past year with 3 dogs. Now I'm living in a house by myself. This is just not okay. So I then adopted Gotti. This is like one of the first pictures I took with him when I was walking him, probably maybe like 2 or 3 months into me having him. And it was great. But it also was, I got him off Craigslist. They advertised him as a purebred red-nosed pit who should be 90 to 100 pounds. He clearly was not. I get over to the house that's like selling him, and he's extremely like, it's just a sketchy looking house. There were 2 guys who were like working on a truck who had these like just ginormous wrenches. So I was like, I might be killed here. This is not a good situation. Like, oh, here's his name was Little Man before this. So it's, oh, here's Little Man. And he's tied up to a tree. He has like ticks on him, fleas on him. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take him. Like, I'm done with this. He's not doing very well here. So hopefully give him a little bit better of a life. So adopt him. He's about 3 months old. And I've had him for about 8 years now. So it's been cool.
That's awesome. My dog's name, well, I have quite a few, but my oldest dog was White Boy at the shelter. And I said, oh no, I cannot imagine yelling that if across the park.
It just doesn't come off as very elevated, we'll say.
No, it's not. It's not the vibe we were going for. So now he's Jake Peralta of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And he is I think he's a pit mix. He's supposed to be Dogo Argentino mix, but I think he's a pit mix too. But the reason I bring that up is we are doing a battle of the seasons. I don't know if you heard about this. We want to do kind of a family feud style game with all the seasons of Love is Blind to raise money for the shelter rescue of the winner's choice. And we would love if you guys would join us. And that is still in the works. I'm very far behind on it. So probably after the summer. But if you guys are able and can fit it into your schedule, we'd love to have you join us.
We would love that. Yeah. I know our
partner
just sent out something saying that there was a shelter that had like 30 something dogs that need to be fostered by like a certain deadline. So we definitely would love to participate in something like that.
Yeah, we would love that. And anything we can do to help fundraise for a good cause, we are always down for. Now, our last Instagram deep dive of today is Jordan. Now, this is kind of tiny, but this is your billboard in Times Square. So did you know that was happening? What was that like?
So we had a feeling it was going to happen, like to just promo everything. And I always talked about basically like 2 big things. Like I don't know, when this whole came out, I was like, it'd be so cool if we were on Times Square. Because I used to go there with my family because I lived in Jersey. And we used to like take the train into like Times Square. And it just was so wild. So it's like, how cool would it be if we were actually on like a billboard over there? The other thing I always wanted to do, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon, but let's manifest it, is I've always wanted to like be on or at least go to like Saturday Night Live. I think it'd be so cool to go to. So we officially got 1/2 of my like 2 big things kind of checked off the list. But it was just so wild being able to be like, like I was on Times Square. Like it's kind of a big flex.
Yeah, I would say so. Of all the flexes, that is definitely up there. Okay, guys, now we are going to play a little game, and I'll give you, it is your choice. We have 4 to choose from. We have standard, typical drinking games, but it is 9 o'clock in the morning here, so excuse me if I pass on that. Never Have I Ever and Would You Rather. We have some icebreakers that you might get asked on an awkward first date if you don't know what else to ask the person. And we have Pick a Partner, which is where we ask you to pick, except for each other, a cast member from either your season or Love is Blind in general, who you would do various scenarios with. And they might be true to life, or they might be a little bit out there like a zombie apocalypse. So Amy, pick, or both of you pick a game.
I like Never Have I Ever. Is it Never Have I Ever or Would You Rather, or both, or a combination?
These are either or.
Okay. I like this.
Yeah.
Okay. And we could play another one. I think I scheduled us for like an hour and a half. So we're getting there. But if you need to go, please let me know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have a hard stop at the like half-hour mark. So
Yep. Yeah, we will get you out of there by then. I'm trying to be cognizant of the time.
yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Okay. Never have I ever. Amy, we'll ask you to go first in these. Googled someone before a date.
No.
No?
I've stopped social media, but like not.
Yeah, I
not
don't know if it'd be
Google.
Googling, but definitely like creeped on them on social media, try to
Yeah.
find their
Okay.
Insta, or, like TikTok or like Facebook or things like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever, especially since the show, Googled yourself?
Yeah.
Listen, it's so funny. I like Googled myself and an article came up with like the most false things. Like it was like a biographical thing about me. And I was just like,
Amy,
Where?
born in Argentina.
No, okay, it wasn't
age
like that.
35.
It wasn't like that.
35.
But it was just like, where are they pulling this from? I think the funniest part that killed me the most was that it mentioned that I own several properties and assets, and I'm just like, where are these properties?
Yeah.
I love to
A&R
know
assets.
because it was just so funny. But yeah, no, we love to see like what funny
Yes.
things we can find out.
Johnny, did you have anything odd or out there that you found?
Not really odd or out there. I think so. Obviously, it's always fun to Google yourself and just see kind of like what bios come up. There are a lot of John McIntyres though.
Yeah,
So
there
it's hard
are.
to find myself because there's like John McIntyre from MASH. Then like it alternates to like Drew McIntyre from the WWE. Then it's like this old John McIntyre just passed away and like his obituary and his bio.
Oh boy.
And my uncle's name is also John McIntyre. So it's like there's so many different like little things with John McIntyre. It's hard to find like one about me specifically.
Yeah, I tried. Not gonna lie. I went poking around on both of you guys, but you have pretty, not common names, but they're typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you
Okay.
might be able to find some like high school stats from like football or wrestling. And that's really gonna be about it though.
Have you ever borrowed or stolen anything from the Love is Blind set?
I have not. I still want my journal. I haven't like even messaged them. But I feel like that's something that I would want. But I never took anything.
Yeah.
I thought they would let you have your journals.
He got his back, but it's because I think some people asked for it.
Oh, okay.
I forgot. So it's a me thing. Yeah, I should probably text them that after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny, did you take anything from set?
Not really. I don't think I really took anything that like wasn't like supposed to be like ours.
Like a pen.
No gold glasses, no
Oh, and
blankets.
that's the one thing I wish so we wish we got two things.
Oh,
We never got
I
those.
got you.
We got gold goblets, and we
Mhm.
never got the Love is Wine. We
Okay.
just recently got a bottle of Love is Wine from this one place we went to
Perfect.
this past weekend, and that's the first time I actually ever tried it. So would love to be able to actually get some of that.
I have some glasses for you. I'll email you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
We may have a stock of them just on hand for just such an occasion.
I love it.
They're not the matte one. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Normally I throw my drink in there, but
Oh my gosh, it's so nice though.
Ah.
yeah, we have those. We have a little Etsy shop that we do that, but we always send them to you guys for free if you want them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the game. Never have I ever used someone else's toothbrush.
No, that is a hard no for me.
Yeah.
If I have, it might have been with him and on accident, but I don't think I ever have actually.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Oh no.
I feel like you would be the one. Have you used my toothbrush?
Next question.
Oh no. Amy, change your toothbrush right away.
Listen,
Never,
Yes.
never have I ever been catfished.
I haven't.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, I guess you might not know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this
Okay.
is we really didn't know at all, but like in general, like in like previous dates, I don't think I have.
Yeah.
Okay. Never have I ever flirted my way out of or into trouble.
out of or into?
Amy, I see that face.
You know, I was a different person a couple years ago.
We all were. We all were. These questions came from somewhere for a
I
reason,
kinda like
so
this.
you're not alone.
I wouldn't say flirted, but definitely talked my way out of certain things.
That's okay. We can call it that. Never have I ever edited my selfies before posting them.
Oh, listen, I use filter selfies all the time on Instagram. It's already edited. But yeah, no, I'll admit that. Like, and even some of my pictures, I do edit some. So
Okay,
I know how to
John.
do it. So if Amy does it for me, that's great. If not,
Then you just
that's
roll
all I
with the
can do.
punches.
Look at like this, or
he's a
I just don't
natural
post
beauty.
as we have the face enhancer filter on this.
No, literally right now.
I-
with face enhancer.
I turned it on one day on mine and I turned it off and it won't turn off.
Oh, really?
So I always have the reddest cheeks. It looks like I'm
Oh my
permanently
goodness.
embarrassed. I don't know why. And I just roll with it now because I'm
You just got
roll with the punches. Yeah. I'm always excited to see everybody. Never have I ever created a fake Instagram account to follow somebody or comment about myself.
I have not. Yeah, I have not created a fake Instagram. I have created a fake Tinder, but that's it.
Oh, what was the fake Tinder for?
She wasn't getting matches, so she created another guy to match with her.
No.
And then she could just kind of talk to herself.
No, it was to find certain things out.
Okay. Never have I ever lied during this game.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
People. We're
Yeah.
pretty open and honest with everything. So
Yeah.
I get that vibe.
it takes a lot to like for us to actually like lie or like say something that's like not truthful.
Yeah.
Now, we have a little bit of time for either one more game or to answer some more fan questions. I'm going to leave that up to you guys.
You prefer?
We can do one more game.
All right. Would you rather icebreakers or pick a partner?
Let's do the icebreaker one because I kind of
Okay.
I think that'd be kind of fun. That's like the awkward question one.
Oh God.
Okay.
I know.
Do you have a hidden talent and can you show it off? Johnny, you go first on these since Amy went first on the last one.
A hidden talent. I can do like the cat call whistle.
Oh,
All right, let's hear it. Very
that was
good.
the last thing I was expecting him to do.
What do you expect me to do?
I don't know. Like you play the piano now. I'm just like,
Oh
that's
no,
kind of
I
like
haven't
a
played in a
hidden
while.
talent.
I'm gonna be rusty. Be really bad.
I mean, yeah.
I figured that'd be like
really.
it's a cool like weird little talent. I think I got that like when I was back in like middle school or high school because that was funny to do, and it just kind of like stayed with me.
Have you used it? Did you use it on Amy?
Of course, he's on Amy. not during like the show, but like just in general. Like whenever I see her, I'm just like, damn, you look good.
All right, Amy, any hidden talents?
The one I'll say, I mean, I can't do it now because I have nails on and it's been a minute and I'm rusty, but I did learn how to play ukulele while in COVID.
Oh, okay.
So I was actually supposed to, I did sing to him in the pods at the ukulele. They were really about me singing with the ukulele, but it was not tuned. Therefore, my voice was not tuned. I like to think, I'm an okay singer. And so with the ukulele not being tuned, I was not sounding good. So I was like,
no.
One of my biggest fears was them showing that. So I'm so glad that they didn't. Instead, they got Johnny twice. But,
Yes. So they neglected to do the best singer, and they got probably the worst singer.
it was not good that day. It's fine.
I think that's intentional. Every season, I want to say starting with season 3, there has been a song. We had Zach, we had Kwame. So there's got to be a singer of the bunch every season. Whether it's good or bad is up for interpretation, but they are in there.
It's really funny too because I remember talking to Mr. Anna
Yeah.
like during her graduation, like afterward, and she's like, "Hey, if you're gonna be on this, there's one thing you can't do: don't sing in the pods. Don't be known as the singer guy." And I'm like, "Me? No, never. I never sing at all." And then all of a sudden, I get hit twice with it. I'm just like,
banana.
I just wasn't thinking about it at all. And then that happened, and I was like, "Johnny, I told you one thing you can't do. Anything else is on the table. One thing just don't do." And of course, I got caught with it.
Not once, but twice.
It's okay. We love you even more for it.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of singing, what is your go-to karaoke song?
I will always sing Selena. Selena is like my favorite artist on this planet. May she rest in peace. But the love I have for her is unmatched. So I will always either sing Como la Flor or Bidi Bidi Bum Bum.
Okay.
Bidi Bidi Bum Bum is very good. She does a
Yeah.
great job with that.
Do you have a go-to karaoke song, Johnny?
Not really go-to karaoke song, but I would say anything kind of towards like, I don't know, like older school, like Fall Out Boy, or like, I don't know, like that kind of like just something that everyone like likes to sing along to.
No, what's the song that you've sung before?
Oh, Hotel California.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That
All
one's
right.
like one. It's like a very just like everyone knows it, so it's easy to sing along to.
Yeah.
If you could ask Gotti one thing, what would it be?
Are you really that sad looking? Because he is just like, since he was like,
He has the
literally since
droopy
I got
eyes.
him, he had like the droopy eyes. He just looks sad
Mhm.
all the time. When like we aren't like with him, or like even when we're giving him love, he's just like, and like it just gives off like the I'm so sad. So it's like,
Yeah.
really that sad? Is it just you kind of like RBF? Like how you feeling, buddy?
Are you okay? What about you, Amy?
Mine is a little toxic, but I would say, am I the best mom you've ever had?
That's cute. Okay.
I always say that.
What does your last text say?
Oh. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure mine is going to be along the lines of like, hey, sorry, I couldn't make it to the gym this morning.
Mine just sounds good.
Yeah.
That was boring.
All right.
Sorry.
That's okay. All right. If you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would you choose and why?
I would choose this is hard. I would choose my grandma that passed away when I was 3, because I feel like there were a lot of similarities that, based on like what I've been told by my family, that we had. She was very creative. She was a painter, and she would write me all these love letters when I was a baby, and she passed when I was very young. So unfortunately I never got to meet her. So I would say her.
Okay. What about you, Johnny?
I don't know, 'cause I feel like every time I watch like a new like it sounds really bad for saying this, like a new like TikTok kind of like documentary, like video, the answer always changes.
Okay.
I think the most recent one is going to be Rob Dyrdek.
Okay.
He was basically just like a skateboarder that turned into this like business like mogul, and he essentially kind of like ran MTV for like decades on end and had like multiple shows. Like he was basically the face of it. So just kind of like learning like how he decided that like he's going to make this leap that's like, you know, starting off as just like a skateboarder to like this to like that to like kind of like just keep progressing and like kind of changing like where he's at while still staying like true to himself. I think that'd be a cool like conversation to have.
Can you
All
tell
right.
me skater back then?
Yes.
Just a little bit.
And the
I
thing
would
is,
want to.
love skater boys, so I was imagining them.
So you knew he was the one from Love at First Skate. I know you guys have to go, so we will let you go. Before you do, and I will explain this all online, but I'm going to ask you both to pick a number between 1 and 54, and I am going to post these and see if they apply to you later.
Okay.
So Amy, 1 to 54.
33.
33 for Amy, and Johnny, 1 to 54.
27.
27. Okay. I'm going to post these on Instagram. Normally I'd read them to you, but I know you have to go, and I like to do them. It's a little astrology thing. So I will send them to you later. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Tell everybody what you have going on, anything you want to promote, and where to follow you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have a lot of trips coming up.
Yes.
So a lot of adventures, and hopefully I can get creative and, you know, doing a lot of, you know, footage for that. But definitely a lot of stuff coming out for that very, very soon. So if you want to keep up with us, my handles are Amy Tiffany with 1 Y on Instagram and Amy Tiffany with 2 Ys on TikTok. And
yeah. So just like Amy said, a lot of traveling coming up, so definitely stay tuned for that. I am Johnny __ McIntyre on Instagram and TikTok. So give me a follow. Trying to be a lot more diligent with posting and actually posting a lot more content, whether it be just kind of everyday life or like reels or like posts. So hopefully it's some entertaining stuff.
yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. If you're ever in Arizona or Jordan's in Alabama, please let us know. We'd love to meet up and buy you guys a drink. And
No, we
everybody,
the drink.
oh, well, we'll give you gold glasses to have the drinks in.
That's perfect.
Thanks, everybody, for watching today. You know what to do. Follow, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll see you next time on the Love Pod.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
guys for having
having
us.
us. We had the
Thank
best time.
you.
We'll see you guys
Yeah.